Hey there, Justin from Ujoint Offroad Colorado here. Just wanted to make a video to talk about our service offerings for your late model leaf sprung front end Sportsmobile built on a Ford chassis. So Sportsmobile sold a ton of these. These were great rigs. They came in V10 variants and they came in 6-liter diesel variants with their proprietary four-wheel drive conversion underneath it. These are great vans. These things are what got me into four-wheel drive vans in the first place, working at the Ford dealership, working on these things. They do have some shortcomings though, and a lot of them have been out there getting used and abused. This one in particular has its fair share of battle scars. You can tell it's been out on the trail, seeing some use. It's got some rock bashes here and there. It's got about 75,000 miles on it. It's been really well taken care of, but there's not a lot of places out there that are going to go through and fix up the undercarriage and everything like we do on our rigs. So it's something we've been offering on these because they are put together very similar to our rigs, and there is some improvements that can be made to the steering geometry and suspension geometry and everything with custom leaf springs, and the overall drivability as well with custom leaf springs and custom valve shocks as well. So we'll dive into that a little bit. So the first thing that we do is we tear the front end all apart. We drop the front and rear axles down onto stands, take the leaf springs out. They come with Old Man Emu springs. They may have at one time been fine springs, but most of the time these things at this age, those leaf springs are about inverted, and they always have signs of the bump stops bottoming out on the top of the axle, and the shocks are always blown out. And that's no fault of the suspension. This stuff's not designed to last forever, but we've found some updates and improvements that can be made with the arch of the spring and the axle placement and everything. So we get with our buddies at Alcan right up here in Grand Junction in Colorado, and they custom build us these springs. So what we do is we lift the front end 2 inches, and we also move the axle center line forward 1 inch from where it was in the wheel arch. And that gets us a little bit better angles in a few places with the track bar and the drag link, and that also gets us much more tire clearance back here. So you can see this thing had 315s on it previous, so that's part of the package as well, as we go with a 315 7017 BFG KO3. This is just like a perfect match for these things. Really good and quiet on the highway. Jury's still out on mileage because they have not been out for very long, but they are balancing really well, and that was always the problem with the KO2s. They wouldn't balance very well. So these take minimal weight and no vibrations up to way faster than most posted speed limits as far as we can tell. But as you can see before, it took out the little mud guard with 315s on it because it was rubbing on the fender. So you won't have any more rub now. We put extended brake lines on it. We grind the little silly extender tabs off, and we put the brake line back where it should be with a nice braided line. We cable it back with the spring, just like we do on our builds. But where we start off is dropping that axle down, and we go through and we completely clean up the frame. We go through it with Scotch-Brite and wire wheels and everything, and just clean all of the rust off of everything, because usually they do, they've seen some use in salty environments and everything, so there will be a little bit of surface rust on some things. So we clean everything up, give it a coat of our favorite Seymour MRO paint that we use on all of our in-house builds as well. Then, as you can see, this one, he opted to go with a fluid film coating as well. So after we got everything painted and reassembled, we go back through and we shoot this fluid film. We shoot about a half a gallon of it on the things, and we have all these little straws and everything. It's shot on with a gun, and we have all these straws that get up in all these little body frame crevices, and we go up into all these little body holes and everything, and make sure everything is super well coated inside everywhere. that's going to get hit with road debris. This is not a permanent solution, but this is what we've found. Like, a lot of people want to do like a rubberized undercoat or like shoot bed liner on the body, and that's all a bad idea as far as I'm concerned. It's just gonna, all these little places in the body, you know, that Ford has engineered to, that's, you know, probably an engineered drain hole to drain water out right there. So if you cover that up with something, water's just gonna pool up back there and rust. So I think the best thing you can do is just leave alone with what Ford has and shoot on something like this that is kind of temporary. This fluid film under normal use will last about a year. So it looks all nice and pretty right now and it's fresh, but it does stay tacky. It's a lanolin oil based product. The Aussies have been using this stuff on their truck for years and years and years and years for going down on the beach and going through salt water and everything. And it's used in the Midwest and Rust Belt and everything, and up in the Northeast very commonly, because if you don't, they salt the roads so much there, your car will just rot into the ground after about 10 years. And we have similar problems here. We get road salt as well, so it makes everything turn to rust real quick, and this definitely helps prolong it. I do tell people reapply it once a year. But there's a place somewhere that will reapply it. It doesn't have to be done nearly as in depth as we do here, because when we do it, we get everywhere. And when we put the new springs on, we shoot that stuff down inside all the different leaves and everything as well. So it's really soaked into everything to make sure there's no rust start bleeding out of these leaves after a few weeks. So we do shake everything down as well on the front end, make sure it doesn't need ball joints. We can service the wheel bearings, we can do new brakes, U-joints. Some people that have higher mileage, they opt for just a full axle reseal. So we just will take them apart, do new inner axle seals, replace all the wear items and joints and everything. New brakes, ball joints, all new steering stuff. This one was in really good shape. It had recently had new tie rods put on it, but the drag link ends were loose. So we put new drag link ends on it with new clamps there. And we do, with the lift and the center pin push on the front axle, we do also add a adjustment to the track bar in the front as well, because it's gonna change a little bit with the lift. So you can see too, we've cleaned up the front axle and repainted that as well. And then we get the new Alcan springs in there. The shocks are Fox Factory Series shocks that we get from our friends at AccuTune. They custom valve them for us. So we give them the specs that Alcan built the springs for us. So each one of these springs is custom built for every customer. I saw it, this guy's last name is Roy. There's his name on the bottom of the spring. So they were built just for him. So we have you weigh your rig, and then we build your springs exactly to those specifications. And then AccuTune builds these shocks exactly to the specs that the springs were built to. And that makes all the difference in the world in ride quality. So we do that front and back. In the back, we totally get rid of the block and we lift it with all arch. So it's actually a 4-inch higher lift spring. So we lift it 2 inches and then we get rid of the 2-inch block as well. And that makes them ride really nice and smooth. And as you can see underneath there, we got a shim to readjust the pinion angle, make sure that's all dialed in. One other thing that Sportsmobile does that drives me crazy is to run a stock length shock, they cut off the stock shock tab and flip it to the top of the axle, which is nice for ground clearance, but the shock travel is not very good. So with this setup with an all arch lift like this and then a much longer shock, we get a ton more down travel out of the back. So you got back tires touching the ground a lot more instead of lifting tire all the time off-road. So as you can see, everything else underneath here has been super coated inside and out of the frame on everything. We even do the exhaust. It's almost kind of like a like oiling a cast iron. It'll keep it from rusting out if you stay on top of shooting fluid film on it. Once it gets all hot, it kind of just like bakes in there. So full cleanup on the frame, all the battery boxes and everything, repainted. Same with the rear axle. We serviced the Atlas T-case. We serviced the front differential, pulled the covers, got them all cleaned out. We added overload bags to the back of this one. This is really good to do on these as well. It gives you a little bit of modularity on ride quality. You can bump these things up on the highway. I like to drive them with like 40 or 50 pounds in the back, and it stiffens the back end up. And then when you're off-road, you can drop the pressure in your tires and then totally deflate the rear bags and have a nice smooth ride. And as you can see too, it's just our standard ones that we use on our vans as well. So it has a disconnect cup, so it's not going to limit your articulation at all. So the 315, if yours is fitted with an aluminous bumper, the 315 fits on there no problem as well. So this is a pretty standard package for us. You shoot me an email, I can go over pricing with you depending on what you want. We can accommodate 37-inch tires as well, with a little bit more lift and a little bit more axle push. We can also do stock height as well, just with stock replacement tires. We got some options for you. And then also this box up here, photobombing me in the corner, reminded me too that we are a Shieldman dealer as well. So we can, they do offer bolt-in seats that do work with the swivel seat bases for a nice upgraded, basically, what's the word I'm looking for here? Like an orthopedic quality seat from Germany. So if you have any questions, email me at justin@ujointoffroad.com. If you are looking for a 4x4 conversion in North Carolina, or a DIY 4x4 conversion kit for your E-Series van or your two-wheel drive Sportsmobile, contact Chris at ujointoffroad.com. Thank you. I thought maybe you'd want to see it down on the ground with the new stance too. That'd probably be a good idea. So you can tell it looks much more aggressive, much more like a U-joint van with that front axle pushed forward. It's a big reason why our vans look so much different than everybody else's. So I think it makes it look just right. We're in the middle of a big shop renovation project here, but see if I can get you some angles. All right, thanks for watching.